insurance fraud.
Trying to defraud.
Car insurance scam.
Insurance fraud.
Duped an insurance company.
Insurance fraud.
Auto insurance fraud. Insurance fraud.
Insurance fraud.
Insurance fraud is
Fraud millionaires.
Accusations of fraud.
Insurance fraud button.
Everyone's been saying it. The comments have been totally loaded with it. Was this thing an insurance scam? Did I get screwed? That's exactly what we're going to find out today. Put on your tinfoil hats, find your 10mm sockets. It's time to get to wrenching on this thing. I bought a 2022 G80 M3 off of Cars Forbid, sight unseen. This was a New York car, and it came with a lot of surprises. There's a freaking dead mouse in here. Ew. Obviously, it was crashed in the front end, but not so obvious. Well, there was a hole in the block. But either way, I won the auction. I want it. I want it. Got the car delivered, drug it off the trailer, got it into position, and here we are. Yes, that is indeed a hole in the block. Now, I paid about $27,000 for this car, which, in the grand scheme of things, is a pretty good deal for a crashed G80. It is Dakar yellow. It does have an individual interior and exterior, which makes it pretty darn unique. I'm not a fan of boring colors or cars, so this fits the bill. And it has all the options I want, like the carbon roof, the executive package, and the list goes on. Plus, of course, it's a manual. Seriously, guys, if you want a project car of your own, there's no better place to look than at cars4.bid. No membership fees, nothing like that, and I've got a discount link in the description box. Oh, and by the way, this is for you, 425 Russia. Not really sure why I would lie about what I paid for the car, but okay. Now, after I posted the first video, I got a ton of feedback across social media from you guys, which I really appreciate. There were guys saying, hey, I've seen this car in New York. They photographed and videoed the car. They worked on the car. They know the guy who owned the car before me. And of course, there were lots of people who were saying this was an insurance scam. And I've been trying to piece together the story of this car ever since. Captured by Nate on Instagram sent me a bunch of photos and videos that he took of the car, which is really cool. I really appreciate it. Now, something really interesting that someone sent me on TikTok. Look, it's my car. And it's at some shop. And that's when the frame rail was not straight. This had me really confused because it's on a frame machine, so they took the time to put it on the frame machine, straighten out the front frame rail somewhat, and then give up on the project? I don't understand. If any of you guys could translate what he's saying for me, that would be hugely appreciated. I'm really curious. So to try to get some clarity, I sent the guy a message on TikTok, and well, this is how that went. So for any of you guys watching that have additional information, please send me an email or a DM on Instagram or TikTok, because the history of this thing is pretty wild. I mean, it had a top mount turbo on it, for Pete's sake. I have been in contact with the original owner, the purchaser of the car, the guy who crashed it, and he's been helping to gather some further information. Basically, he said he was trying to get away from some car thieves trying to steal a G80, which isn't very uncommon, and during that incident is when he crashed the car. Now, he said there was damage to the engine, but it certainly wasn't a hole in the block, so that occurred after he turned it into insurance. And then thanks to some other guys who reached out, I didn't realize this car had been at an auction previously before I bought it at auction, so it had been auctioned off twice. Thanks to multiple of you viewers who sent me the auction site for the first time it was sold, and you can see it was sold for $21,800, which is significantly less than the $26,000 that I paid for it. Also, you can see here there's missing body parts. The car's electronics work, yet the windows were down and not covered, and the front end seems to be in the original condition after the crash. No work had been done to it. And the car is a vastly different condition here than when I picked it up. The real question is, what happened between the first auction and the second auction? You guys are going to have to get on your tinfoil hats for this one. I was planning on starting to tear this car apart outside, but obviously Mother Nature had other plans. And we finally got warm weather. It's like 55 degrees today. So that means the work starts on the G80. Now, I rebuilt the 997 from the ground up, but that didn't have significant body damage like this car. This is going to be a completely unique rebuild for me, and it's going to have a huge learning curve. I have a ton of airbags to replace in the inside. There's all the damage to the outside. There's the entire engine that needs replaced, plus the fact that it's missing so many parts in the front end. This is definitely going to be a challenge. That does leave one question we're all dying to find out. But was this all one big insurance scam? To find that out, I've got to take this car apart. I've got to see what engine's in it, what transmission is in it, what's missing, what was tampered with, and any other evidence to help me figure out this case. I didn't realize how big this car was until I put my quick jacks under it, and they don't even reach both jacking points perfectly. Now, most of the time working in the garage, well, you get really thirsty, you get hot and sweaty, and well, the best way to replenish that is with some water. But what if you don't want to keep buying bottled water? Well, the solution is a mod for my house, which is a really cool mod, actually. This is the Water Drop X series. It's got an intelligent faucet and an aesthetic design. It matches everything else in my kitchen. It purifies water through 11 meticulous purification phases. It has a compact design, and it guarantees consistently pure water. What's really nice is you can DIY install this at home. It fits under the kitchen sink. You don't need to have a plumber's degree or anything like that. It doesn't get installed in your basement next to a water heater. This is a simple install anyone can do with basic tools. My absolute favorite part about it is the faucet itself with its digital display and rotating dial. It's really cool. You can select ounces anywhere from 5 to 64, and it'll automatically dispense that exact amount for you, so no more measuring cups. You can chuck those in the trash. The filters are really easy to replace and can reduce 99% of fluoride, lead, bacteria, etc. And the filters can last up to 24 months. It also comes with a re-mineral function. This can save you about $750 a year on bottled water. The way you use the faucet is really cool. Plus, it has a super fast flow. Huge thanks to Water Drop for sponsoring this video. I'll have a link in the description box for you to get your own. If you've been wanting some way to filter the water at your home, this is the best option in my opinion. It looks the best. It's got easily accessible filters, and the smart display just takes the cake for me. So now when I'm in the garage, I'm going to have nice filtered water instead of bottled water. What's kind of wild is I've never even looked underneath this car. But it has a transmission, so that's good. It's got a drive shaft, it has a diff. All right, I was worried half this stuff would be missing. So some telltale signs that this tranny has been out. That line is not connected. The line is here, so maybe they thought about taking it out. Some wiring down here, I don't know what that goes to. There's that subframe mount. It actually looks fine back here, which is good. Motor mounts look fine. I don't see any frame buckling or anything under here. The bolts have been taken out of the guibo, and obviously you guys know the shifter was disconnected. Good axles, we got KW coilovers, got a nice diff. It's not all beat up. The rear suspension all looks good. This is probably for the active exhaust that's not there. A little bit of damage there. That's probably from a forklift, if I had to guess. Probably the same with this fin. It can be bent back. It's just aluminum. Nothing else looks out of place down here. Oh, I do see, looks like missing a sway bar. I'm assuming that's what that mount is for, and the fact that there's not a sway bar back here. Add that to the list. Missing this whole under tray. And obviously more under trays are missing over here. This doesn't look bent out of shape or anything. I'm gonna pull this side skirt off because it's not on there correctly. All right, here's some damage probably from the crash. Yep, that's gone. Obviously, oh, that whole ball joint has yeeted itself out of there. I'm assuming the KW coilover is bent, unfortunately. The major damage to the subframe, which obviously this whole subframe is toast. There's the damage to the frame rail there, which has been sort of fixed. This has been up in there. Obviously the wheel is destroyed. Sway bar end link destroyed. All this suspension over here is destroyed. And then there's what's left of the engine. So let's get to yanking this thing out of here. As far as I remember, the brakes in this are still good, so I really don't want to re-bleed them. There's still a great pedal there, so I'm going to leave them alone. My plan is to drop the whole subframe, engine, and tranny all at once, but I'm gonna disconnect the brakes and leave them up. That way I don't have to deal with re-bleeding them and doing all that, because this is a newer car, and bleeding brakes on a newer car can be kind of tricky. Might need a special tool, computer, you never know.
I got the fender liners and brake calipers all disconnected with both sides, along with all the sensors associated with those things, and then I can move on to the struts themselves.
That's one way to do it. That was much smoother.
I'm also trying to bag and tag all these parts so I don't lose them, and it'll make install just that little bit easier in the future when I get all the new parts, because there's going to be a lot of them.
This wasn't even bolted or plugged in or anything. You can tell from the top mount manifold they probably had a T on here or something. Wow, literally nothing is bolted in on this thing. Not much power there. Oh boy.
As I got the front end more and more tore down, I could get a better look at the damage to, well, everything under here. You can see the frame rail does not look good. You can see there's a definite wrinkle in it, both in the inside and the outside, but I need to get the engine out to see if there's more damage. And it's not just the frame rail that's damaged. There are a lot of components in this engine bay that are damaged, missing, broken, like the subframe, obviously.
That out of there, that's good to go. Very close to dropping everything. This guy is loose, this whole piece is loose, doesn't have a bolt in there, doesn't have a bolt in back there. Slave isn't connected, obviously no exhaust. And this isn't even like mounted at all.
I love my quick jacks. They're absolutely fantastic and the best alternative to a 2-post or 4-post lift, which I obviously have no room for, but they can be a real pain when you're trying to get a subframe or other things out because they just kind of get in the way. So I had to toy around with jacking the car up using different methods. It was a pain, but eventually I got it situated how I wanted it, and I could move forward with getting the actual subframe and everything else unhooked from the car.
Making progress. Pretty sure all I have to do now is unbolt the transmission cross member and the subframe. It should drop out. First I got to set it up how I'm going to do it. Hope that's strong enough, and if it's not, it doesn't really matter because the only good thing out of everything here that I'm taking out is really the transmission. Oh, those are the smallest bolts ever. Is that really just held on by 4 little Torx, or am I missing bolts? Oh, missing bolts. Right. Why wouldn't I be? Oh boy, I got some other news I'll have to share with you once this engine's out. More red flags. This might be an insurance scam after all. Oh boy, that was a little aggressive. Well, like I said again, nothing's gonna get damaged here. Shifter's not even hooked up. I think I have just one more. Yeah! See how many things I forgot or missed. Oh, one thing. Headlight sensor. Should have known, I just replaced these on the Porsche. Alright, check underneath, check underneath. Everything looks good. Ooh, that doesn't look good though. Awesome. Went smooth. Oh no, I can't get my impact out of there. These are all the bolts that was required to drop this engine, which is significantly less than it should have been.
Finally, the engine and transmission are out of the car, but that leaves the question, is this even an S58? Is this even a true G80 M3 transmission?
Well, we're about to freaking find out. Hopefully I can move this engine. Oh yeah, never doubted myself at all. Couple of things right off the bat. This was just chilling here. No idea what this goes to. Nothing was plugged in up here. This obviously wasn't plugged in. Look at that, missing bolts, missing bolts, missing bolts. But this does say G8X, so I'm assuming this is the correct transmission. I'll double check the part numbers. There's another red flag. Whatever went there isn't there, that's not there. Dude, this engine's missing so much stuff. I gotta find some kind of serial number on it and do some digging. But also, back here, this guy wasn't plugged in. No idea why, the clip and everything was there, so clearly people have been messing around in here. To what extent, I'm not sure. One more interesting tidbit, if this had a clutch in it, I wouldn't be able to spin this in every gear like this. So now it looks like I'm gonna have to buy a clutch for the thing. That sucks.
I did some part number searching on the engine and transmission, and we'll get into that a little bit later.
Oh, the heck with it. Might as well take the tranny off. All right, I need more juice. Nothing. That's a shame.
Another odd one. If this vehicle was totaled for insurance purposes from a crash, why would the clutch be missing? None of this is adding up or making much sense. But now with all that out of the way, you can see the damage to the frame rail, and you could tell that it was obviously bent back, as we all know. But why would someone bend it back and then give up on the project?
The one good piece of information I've taken out of this is there doesn't seem to be any frame damage at all behind this kink. Here is good. This all looks straight as an arrow. It matches the other side. Up here might be fine. I'm not sure. This is gonna be hard to measure with this curb and these pieces. And considering someone sort of bent this back, makes it even more difficult. But I think the good news is this is gonna be a decently easy frame rail repair, because I'll be able to just zip it here-ish and weld on a new one up here. And I don't have to go back into the fender well and the strut mount, because all of that looks good. So I may have more questions than answers with taking this out, but at least I got a plan for the frame, I think. There. It's like it never even happened. That's trash. this fender liner definitely isn't savable. Oh boy, that's all aluminum. Yep, all right, that makes this a little more difficult. Yeah, the nuts are steel. Look at this subframe, look at how mangled that thing is. Pretty much perfectly straight over there. Not only is this kinked way in to the left, it's also up. It's gone vertical. Sheesh, that's bad. But luckily, the frame rail isn't terrible, other than in the front.
The numbers on the transmission indicate it is a G80 manual transmission, and the numbers on the engine even say S58. But are either one of these items from this specific car? I don't think I'll ever know, because there's no way to match them with the VIN, at least from my research.
I've got a lot of questions.
One of those questions is, when did manuals become uncool? Sorry, not sorry, the auto just isn't for me. Boring. So I got out my laptop, put together all of my thoughts from all the comments from you guys, the videos and photos that have been sent to me, plus the fact of me actually tearing the engine out of the car and figuring out what was in there, engine and transmission wise, and this is what I pieced together.
So here are the facts. The car was crashed, the previous owner submitted it to insurance, who totaled it. It went to auction, somebody bought it for cheaper than what I bought it, bent back the frame rail, took a bunch of parts off the car, installed a new bumper support beam, and then it went back to auction. Now what I think happened between the two auctions is they either gave up, ran out of time, money, or motivation to fully fix the car, sent it to auction to get their money back. Now what also possibly happened is sometime during fixing the frame rail, I think they either swapped the engine out with one that they had laying around that was blown up and had that hole in it, like this one did, shoved it all back in the car, and then sent it back to auction to recoup their money and actually profit a little bit. That's my guess. That's what all this investigation has led to. I think that's pretty accurate. But if you guys think of something else, or think something different happened, let me know. I don't think it was the actual previous owner, the first guy that bought it, because for him to have blown up the engine and then additionally crashed it, that would be incredibly difficult. With all that being said, it's time to fix this car, and I may have located everything I need to do so.